Welcome to The Coaching Corner, a podcast for coaches coaching in the child welfare field. I'm your host, James Coloma, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about Core 3.0. We'll be exploring what Core 3.0 is, why in California we talk about Core 3.0, and you'll find out how you as a coach can use this information when you're coaching child welfare workers or child welfare supervisors. In a moment, Irene Becker will join us on today's episode to help us understand more about this topic. I'm James Coloma, and we'll be right back. Hi, Irene.
Hi, James. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm working with the Public Child Welfare Training Academy now. I am the curriculum consultant, and I've been in this position for about a year or so. And prior to that, I had a number of positions in the academy. I've been working with the academy off and on since 1997, and I've had a variety of activities, including curriculum development, training, consulting, facilitation, as well as working in a lot of venues at the state level, in some cases at the national level around child welfare issues.
Great. So how did you get involved with Core 3.0?
I have been involved with 3.0 now for about a couple of years, but I'll back up just a little bit to say that it stands for the standardized core that new social workers get when they are hired in California. So there are 5 academies and then 5 different deliveries of the standardized core throughout California. And it started in 2003 as the result of some federal legislation that required California to beef up its standardization of training of social workers. And I worked on at that point, we called it Core 1.0. And did some writing of curriculum then, and also was involved peripherally with the revision of that in between 2007 and 2009 of what we call 2.0. And now 3.0 is coming along. It's a little bit different. The first 2 versions were all classroom, and now we are going into multiple modalities of e-learning, classroom, and field activities, and that's what the standardized Common Core 3.0 is about.
So you told us a little bit about Core 1.0 and Core 2.0 and how it changed from that to Core 3.0. So can you speak more of what those changes are? You had mentioned some e-learning, some classroom changes, and then some coaching. So let's start with the e-learning. What is that? Why is this change happening, and why go to these different modalities?
When we started looking at revising Core 2.0, we also did some research as to what other training was going out in other states and other counties in California. And we found that there was definitely a drive to put some of the content online. And so we've been fortunate in our region that we have kind of a robust e-learning program and development. So it fits in line with our vision of having some of the content, primarily knowledge. In other words, what is it that you want to know about a subject matter, and you put that online. So there will be approximately 22 modules when it's all completed online, and those will be the knowledge piece. And from that, the skill-based portion will be developed for the in-classroom part of 3.0. And so there will be less days of classroom training, but it will be very laser focused on doing skill building because the knowledge piece has already been completed in the e-learning. And then lastly, in order to make sure that there's a good transfer of learning, there are complementary field activities that will need to be completed by the new social worker with a field advisor, or it could be their supervisor, it might be a coach, in which they will do these activities and get feedback, and then that will be part of the 3.0 total spectrum of delivery.
So is it correct that there will be 22, did you say 22 days or 22 topics?
22 e-learning modules. Most of them are between an hour and 90 minutes long. And I can't say off the top of my head, but currently we have about 22 days of classroom training, and that will probably be cut down to about half the days. And then the field activities will be usually in 1 to 2 hour blocks of time. And some of the field activities might be able to be combined so that you can do a number of objectives that are required by some of the activities, and you might get several of them done in one setting. But they are more discrete in the way that they are given out to the supervisor so that they know what they're looking for. But you could combine several activities to meet a number of those field activity requirements.
So if there's 22 e-learnings and then you could combine the field activities, the in-person days, is there an in-person day for each of the e-learning as well, or are those combined into an in-person day will meet a number of the e-learnings?
Yes, there are a number of what we call required e-learnings that will be needed for certain in-class participation. There will also be a number of e-learnings that can be taken independently, but all of that is around what has been decided new social workers need to know generally before they get a case. But in many cases, the reality is for our counties, they come in, particularly our small counties, they get a caseload, and then they end up going to their initial training, their standardized core training. So they may have been on the job for a little bit, they have some caseload, and they actually now are in training. So the advantage of that is that they actually get to apply what they're learning because they have caseloads. Generally, the larger counties have what they call induction training, and so they are getting trained prior to getting a caseload. And so in our region, most of those counties have a very set process by having the training roll out, anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks, and then the worker gets their caseload.
In our region, then, will the induction training be set the same way so that workers won't have a caseload while they're going through core?
At the moment, it seems that in our discussions with the counties is that we're all looking at how we're going to be able to do this because of the extensive e-learning. It's not been well established about how we're going to do induction training with our 4 largest counties. So we're still having conversations with our counties, and we are fortunate at this point that we have one county willing to pilot part of 3.0 to help us answer some of those questions.
Okay, so some of those things are still to be decided.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit then about the field activities? What do those look like?
Well, for now, we do have the learning objectives for each of the field activities. And the field activities are generally around what we call our 5 blocks that really illustrate practice. So we have an engagement block, we have an assessment block, we have a service planning block, we have a monitoring and adapting block, and then a transition block. So that is also rather unique about 3.0 is that the rollout is really built around a case plan format rather than more discrete subjects. We still have some of that, but it's really around practice. So when we do practice, we have the field activities that are complementary for those blocks. So for example, in engagement, when we do the e-learnings and the classroom trainings around skills and knowledge about how to engage families, how to interview them, how to gather information, then the field activities will be a complement to that. So there might be a field activity in the engagement block that says, go and interview a child and come back and talk to the field advisor about that and talk about the interviewing strategy that you use in order to gather information from this particular child. So that's an example of how the field activity will complement what was taught in the classroom and taught in the e-learning.
So as a coach, why do you think that our coaches need to know this information?
Well, that's the thing, because we've never had a field activity component with standardized core before. It's kind of the new frontier. And so we're all going to learn together in some ways. And so we're going to be needing feedback when we do the pilots of 3.0, particularly from our field advisor or our coaches, about how did this activity work in the field? Do we need to refine it? Do we need to eliminate it? In some cases, it may be a redundant kind of activity that gets picked up in another activity. Or the field advisors might say, you know what, we really need a more discrete activity here, and this is what I recommend to change. So there's still some opportunity in the pilot phase to get feedback about what's working and what's not. And we're going to have our first go-around in the pilot with the assessment block, in which we have a number of field activities related to the SDM tools and to filling out some information in CMS-CWS. And so the field advisor will be coaching the new employee around those and making sure that they're done properly and giving feedback. And so that's what we're hoping to do. And there will be an evaluative process so that the coach or field advisor will be giving some feedback about where that person is in their development and where they might need more training or more coaching around SDM tools or around doing CMS-CWS, so that it's not just here's an activity, just do it, but rather also provide some feedback and a plan to help deepen practice in the areas for that field activity.
So you mentioned that the coaches or the field advisors could be the coaches. Who else could act as a field advisor?
Well, that's still up for discussion. Some of our counties have made a decision to have internal coaching, and so they are beginning to prepare and identify staff that will be what we call field advisor for standardized core. And in other cases, that's not yet been decided whether the academy will be doing some resourcing of that, or that we'll continue to do other discussions about how these field activities will get done. In some cases, it might be that there will be a resourcing that will allow for more one-on-one. So, for example, maybe it's the assigned supervisor who ends up being the field advisor and doing more one-on-one with the particular new employee and doing that function and making sure all the reports are done around the field activity. It could be the identified coach who takes a number of new employees, and does that maybe individually at times and maybe as a group. And in other cases, it might be, again, someone from the outside. It might be a coach that is hired by the academy to do some of that during core.
This is wonderful information, Irene. Thank you. We've been talking about Core 3.0 as it's coming, or it's not here yet. Do you have an anticipated date of when this project will be rolled out?
Well, it will be fully rolled out, we anticipate, by July of 2017. So we have a little bit of time. But 2015 is upon us, and in the plan right now is for us to pilot the assessment block by the spring of 2015, and then subsequently roll out different parts of 3.0 in a pilot phase over the next 2 years, so that by June of 2017 it will be fully implemented.
So it sounds to me that some of these decisions are still to come. Where can someone get more information about Core 3.0?
Well, they can always contact me. I'm very happy to have conversations directly with the coaches around that. I'm happy to come to a meeting and talk more about what's going on with 3.0. There are usually updates in the newsletters, the trainer newsletters, about what's happening, so that all of our trainers and coaches would be aware of those kinds of things. And I regularly report out internally at meetings on what's going on. There is a website at CalSWEC that has right now the finalized learning objectives for 3.0 that are being vetted around the state. So as those are completed and the finalized ones are put up on the web, they'll say final. But for now, they are there, and you're more than welcome to look at the field activity learning objectives for each of the blocks on the CalSWEC website, and it's under Common Core 3.0.
Okay, that's great. So would you be willing to come back and record another podcast to give us an update about Core 3.0 as this continues to roll out?
Absolutely. There's so much going on, not only from the content as we're developing the curriculum piece of it, but also the technical issues and the logistical issues. How are we going to make sure that they get e-learning before classroom? Do the counties have the ability to have our trainees take e-learning? And in some cases, a couple of our counties are called dedicated counties. And so they present more of a challenge, but we're up for overcoming those challenges. And so, yes, we have so many things that are happening, and a picture may change in a month or two time. So, yes, I'd be happy to come back.
Great, thank you. Is there anything that we missed? Is there anything else that you have to share with us?
I think that I would just like to let the coaches know that they are going to be a very important part of the rollout of 3.0. And we need your input as well as your feedback about what's working, what's not working, so that we can make sure that the coaching is the very best coaching we can have for our new employees.
Great, that's a great pitch. Well, thank you, Irene, for your time with us today.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it. I hope that we'll see each other again soon.
I hope so as well. We'll be right back. You've been listening to The Coaching Corner from the Public Child Welfare Training Academy Radio through the Academy for Professional Excellence at San Diego State University School of Social Work. For more information about the Academy for Professional Excellence and the services we offer, please visit us on the web at theacademy.sdsu.edu. You can also subscribe to the Academy for Professional Excellence's YouTube channel by searching for the Academy SDSU. If you want to get hold of us and let us know what you think about this podcast, please send me an email to jcoloma@mail.sdsu.edu, and in the subject line, reference the title of this podcast. A special thank you to our guest today, Irene Becker. Please join us next time as we explore other topics in the child welfare arena. I'm your host, James Coloma. Now go out there and inspire and innovate our child welfare field.